DC here. Hi, guys and gals. Hope you're all well. It is Monday, tag day, and I will be doing a few tags. Just finished doing a very long Jasmine tag, and now we'll be moving on to Dave Nicholson's last Saturday 7-question tag. Hello there, Dave, and hopefully things are going better. Yeah. Okay, so let's go on right off to question one. Question one. What do you wish that you had done differently? We've had so many variants of that question. I'm trying to see if there's a way that I can answer something that will be maybe different, because overall, I am not completely unhappy with the way life has been going. So is there anything that I absolutely wish that would have been done differently? I have mentioned a few times that, well, usually actually it's the question of what I'm happy that I've done and not that I've done differently. Maybe I would have wished that we have had a house even earlier in life. I mean, I was 41 when we got the house, but probably would not have been able to bring up the amount of cash that was needed for down payment earlier. But if I had been able, there are certain things probably I would have done differently in that respect. Is that I think that was a period in life where most people in Switzerland were not getting houses. It was kind of like a known thing, you couldn't afford one. And so, we would probably spend a lot of money on food and drinks and going out. Not that we would go out, Mrs. DC and I, but I mean with family members or having people over and stuff like that. And I guess that could have probably put more money towards housing and stuff like that. That's one answer, I guess. Anyway, so question two: what is your greatest strength and your greatest weakness? Those are the type of questions. Have you ever had job interviews? They're quite frequent that you're asked these things. What is your greatest strength and your greatest weakness? Now, if I was in a job interview, what would I answer? Well, I'd probably talk about my honesty and my team playing spirit and things like that. And at the same time, it creates the greatest weakness, because when you're in a job interview at the time, they're looking to see if you're management material. And sometimes if you're too much of a team player, you're not enough a leader and things like that. So if you get into those type of things. But finally, I think when I'm talking about myself, there is a little bit of that. Greatest strength, probably I would say my family. And greatest weakness, I was almost going to say myself. What do you mean by that? Because, I think that I know how I am with a group, and I tend to, if I was in a group, especially in the last few years, I would tend to sublime myself within the group. I did that by a reaction of being at certain times in my life exactly the other way, wanting to, in a way, kind of show off, I guess. But it wasn't really showing off. It was just kind of like, it passed as showing off, because I was trying to push things forward for the group. And by doing that, people would say, oh, he's showing off. But actually, I was doing it for the group. But then people didn't see it that way. Yeah. I'm all over on this question, but you kind of get where I was going, I guess. Question 3. When was the last time you lied? And what did you lie about? Oh, goodness. I think it's like, I think we all are going to answer the same thing on this one. How often when people ask us, how are you, do we just simply answer, I'm fine, you know? And that is probably the easiest one. I think that it's a variant of this, but I have been asked several times, you know, like if I would need, for example, financial help, or um, am I doing well? Not health wise, but I mean, as far as the management of the finances, for example, and especially if it's from my kids, and I don't want to take money from them, so I will tend to say, everything's okay. When finally, it could be pretty tight. People always think, that when you live here in Switzerland, everything, that you're rich, and you're not, But no. So is that a lie? Well, sometimes it's bending the truth a little bit, yeah. But as most people, I usually will say I'm fine when sometimes you're not completely fine. But overall, I'm pretty much fine, and I'm not lying about that. Okay, question 4. What made you smile this week? Well, I can't say the family because, well, the kids, I mean the grandkids, because they're not here, they're in Spain. But I would say what made me smile this week was Mrs. DC. It was, yesterday was her birthday, and one of the big ones. And what would make me smile was I was working on her birthday card, which was a patchwork or a collage, in a way to say, of pictures of her, basically of her life. I had pictures of when she was a young girl, maybe, I don't know, 2 or something like that, and other pictures. And then we've been together for over 50 years, so so putting all these things together, and so looking at those would make me smile. And she would sometimes say, well, what are you doing? Because I was upstairs where my main computer is, so my Mac upstairs, and she was downstairs doing something else. And I would actually, that's what I lied about. Yeah, that's the other question. I told her that I was doing something else. Yeah, I lied about that because I was doing the card, and I smiled. It would make me laugh because I knew what I was really doing. I was getting something ready for her, and doing all that made me smile. Yeah, actually, to get back to the question about what did you lie about, I lied about that this week. Yeah. Or I was deceptive anyway. That was question 4. Question 5. What do you do with the majority of your money? Spend it? No, I mean, actually, we're retired, so we are on fixed incomes, and which means that once we've paid the housing costs, so I mean the things that go around having the house, food. We usually have the family over on the weekend. The digital stuff, church. There's really not much left. So, what do you do with the majority of your money? Well, basically, it's all. There's something. And income taxes, of course. So basically, I was going to say, what do I do with the majority of my money? I spend it because I got to pay bills. I've got to pay for family expenses and so on. And the little bit that's left. Yesterday we went to the movies. That's not very often. The little bit that's left. Every now and then, we will give ourselves a little bit of extra expense of some type. Maybe I'll buy a hat or something like that. A little thing like that. So yeah, the majority of our money is basically taken away by life. Yeah. Question 6. What motivates you to be your best? What motivates me to be my best? Well, I was going to say in large part it's my faith, but it's also knowing that I have the family that I have. It's knowing that they are looking. People look at you. you preach with your actions. If you, I'll use an expression, if you swear like a sailor, people think that's the way you talk usually. If you complain all the time, if you're non-stop complaining or ranting or whatever, you can say whatever you want, but people will say, well, that's not really what you are. You are what I hear. You are what I see. And so basically, if you want people to see you in the light that you want people to see you, work on being your best. Be your best. And like I get back to the first, I say my faith helps me in that as well. In question 7 and last. How many minutes have I up to? Oh, up to 10 minutes. Okay. What was it? It's the question 7. When was the last time you lost your temper? And about what? The last time I lost my temper, and I mean really lost my temper, not just get mad, a little bit mad, or I think it was something political, where basically there was people just didn't get it. But you know something? I quite rarely really lose my temper. I'll be sad, I'll be hurt, but that's not the same as losing my temper. And I think that was it. But it was nothing. The last time that I really, really, really got mad and lost my temper, seriously, I don't really remember. But I've got annoyed a lot. I mean, I'm not saying the contrary, but usually I get annoyed very much about politics. I got very annoyed the other day reading a newspaper article, which is by a certain newspaper, I'm a journalist, I mean, that I just can't stand. The guy is just so out of it. He's a real hypocrite. And I really get mad whenever I read something about him, because it's all these half-truths which are baked into, oh, look at me, I am so good, and so on, and I'm telling you. And I really get annoyed when people are, these type of people that try to teach you how things are, because they know better than you. That's annoying. It is. And you're going to say, probably, some people might say to me, don't you act that way? You know something? I do. That must have been a bird. You know something? I do that. I think I'd have to confess that sometimes I do exactly that. Yeah. Okay. I suppose then the last time I lost my temper, I don't actually really know. And that's it. Thank you, Dave. Those are my questions for this tag. DC signing off. Take care, everybody. And see you soon. Bye-bye.